started. How many people in this room are satisfied with today's out-of-the-box reporting capabilities, otherwise known as crystal reports? Nobody. Not surprising. All right, you're in the right breakout then. Let me get you some satisfaction. Let me introduce myself. My name is Michael Sanis, Technical Product Manager. I've been here since the summer of 2007. I was 13 years old when I started at LogRhythm, and it's been an incredible ride. Here we are. Today we're talking about the LogRhythm Metrics App. This is a free of charge, standalone application that you can download from our community site and use in your environments to get access to data that you don't currently have access to. This is, as I mentioned, it's free of charge, and there's no licensing fees. We're going to talk about some other, like Elk and Kibana and things like that, and those are available from Elasticsearch free of charge as well. So this whole solution costs you nothing. All you have to do is spin up a VM, download the stuff, install it, fire it up, and you'll be in business. Is it available now? It's available now. Yep. I'll show you how to get it. First, a little bit of background. So, as you may or may not know, most of LogRhythm data is stored in SQL Server. We have SQL Server on the Platform Manager, and we have Elasticsearch on the Data Indexer, and all the raw logs that we collect and process go into Elasticsearch. But all the other data lives in LogRhythm in SQL Server. So events, alarms, cases, incidents. All our statistical, operational data is all tucked away in SQL Server. For better or for worse. The existing reporting capabilities that come out of the box are limited, to the provider reports and the web console widgets. There's some, customization and stuff you can do with the web console widgets in particular, but as far as reporting goes, it's pretty limited. The ability to customize and do, cool stuff is pretty limited. The tools, presentation tools, and reporting tools that work well with SQL Server are not very popular. They're not Kibana, they're not Tableau, they're not the hot new thing, and often they have a cost associated with it. Microsoft SQL Server is a heavily licensed product, and all the stuff that comes with it. There's usually a fee involved. Accessing the SQL Server data can be challenging. Security. LogRhythm is your security appliance. It's monitoring your networks, analyzing the data. You want to keep that safe. You don't want analysts, getting on that box and doing God knows what. You want to keep it safe and secure. Network access, similarly, is prohibitive. The SIM is kind of tucked away in the data center. Access controls, the average Joe analyst is not going to be able to get their hands on that system. And then there's the load that would be associated with reading all this data from SQL Server. So LogRhythm is using SQL Server to insert data as fast as it can into the databases. Introducing another application that's going to now go and try and read that data at the same time will create some contention there, and also take some cycles away from your security intelligence in order to serve up the data set. So for these reasons, using SQL Server as your kind of reporting and presentation repository is not ideal. So over the years, we've been hearing this, and we've heard a lot of requests for data. Two big data sets you guys have asked us for are security operations data. You want to get at our alarm, case, and incident metric data. You want to get at it, so you can run your own analytics. You can do your own, SLA calculations on it. You also wanted to get at your platform operation data. So this is log processing and indexing rates. This is, how many logs am I collecting, in my deployment, per entity, per data processor, per host. Right now there's very limited ability to see that kind of information. You also wanted to, be creative. There's a lot of cool tools out there and to make stunning visualizations, and crystal report. Let's face it, is not one of them. You want to unleash some of these modern tools to view this data, create some compelling visualizations. not only do you want to look at LogRhythm data, but you might have other data sources in your deployment, like a ticketing system like ServiceNow or maybe like Salesforce, things like that, all of which have APIs that you can pull data from and build reports off of. So now you can get LogRhythm data and other data and kind of create unique dashboards that kind of add a lot of value for your analysts and for your potentially your customers as well. You want to be able to customize reports to show particular content and kind of show hard and fast thresholds and things like that to graphically and visually demonstrate when log volume, let's say, exceeds a certain threshold, or time to respond to alarms exceeds a contractual threshold as well. So what have we done? What did we build? We really wanted to get the data to the people. The best way to do this, we decided, was to build a standalone application, and we decided to build it not out of software that we wrote, but to build a solution based on free popular tools that are already out there. And primarily we're talking about the Elk Stack. For those of you not familiar with the Elk Stack, this is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Working together, all from Elasticsearch, all on one machine, working together to provide the data repository and kind of the ETL middleware, and then the visualization layer as well, all in one stack. And it allows us to not have to write any software. So as a software engineering manager, that's great because we don't have to build anything or source control anything or compile it and ship it. It's pretty much just configuring this solution to do what we want it to do. What do we want to do? We use Logstash to extract the alarm case and logmark data from SQL Server into memory, where it performs transformations on that data. So data in the relational databases is normalized, like strings are taken out and numbers are put in to reduce record bloat, and also to optimize the relational queries that go on in the relational database. And that's great for relational databases, but for human eyes to see, we don't want to see user ID 452. We want to see user Michael Sanis, fully constituted data within the data set. So the Logstash will do ID lookups on like host names and IP addresses and users and things like that, and put in the actual real-world values into that data set instead of just having like these weird foreign keys in there, which are not very useful. And once that's done, it takes that data and loads it into a standalone Elasticsearch instance. Now, to be clear, this is not the Elasticsearch instance on the data indexer. This is a separate instance, on its own VM that we're pulling data from SQL Server and inserting the data into. This way, we've got we kind of leave the sim alone. We do a non-locking read on the data and transport it into Elastic, where our analysts can just hammer on it and do whatever they want without fear of bringing down the system or putting additional load on the system while they're doing it. By leveraging the Elk Stack and not writing any software, it makes the solution very field extensible. So if there's a problem in the field with one of the queries, or there's a deficiency in one of the queries, maybe you'd like to see some additional fields in there, or maybe the transformation is not what you wanted it to be, and you'd like the time to detect an alarm was, you'd like it to be in minutes versus seconds or whatever. It's very easy to open up a text file and make those changes to the text file, save them, and then see your impacts immediately. There's no software changes. LogRhythm doesn't need to build you software and then send it to you, and that whole kind of circle activity. Pretty much in the hands of users. Kind of along these lines, not only does it feel extensible to make modifications, but you can also add to it. So it's very easy to look at some of the queries we provided and use that as kind of the jumping off point to write your own queries to hit that SQL Server data and pull that out in maybe a way that we haven't provided for you. So then you can kind of control your own destiny at this point. You can get the data out, put it in the format you want it in, so that when you go to use it, it's the way you need it to be. And again, you can do this all on your own. You don't need to get LogRhythm software team involved in doing that. You can kind of We really see this as a kind of application that you guys can install and kind of look at and get some ideas from, and then kind of run with, and kind of, start making your own queries, start making your own visualizations based off of it.
Right.
And of course, we'd like to hear about that too. So if you guys are doing some cool stuff, definitely feed that back to us, and we can include it in the general release so that everybody can kind of benefit from some of the stuff that you guys come up with. So as part of this certified solution, we offer instructions on how to create a standalone VM and Elasticsearch instance. We provide instructions with bringing up a CentOS virtual machine. You can also put it on a hardware box if you like. And then we have a little installer that will run on your base OS and reach out and yum install Java and Elastic and Kibana and get that all laid down on that system pretty quickly and easily. So you don't have to do that yourself. Probably to set this up probably takes about 15 minutes or so. The hardest part for me was getting the VM stood up, the base VM. Where do I find it? Oh, 7, okay. Clone the VM. Putting the package on there and then running the script just takes a few minutes, and then you're up and running. We also, of course, support the Logstash configurations and all the queries that we deliver. And we ship with sample visualizations. So we'll take a look at these in a minute. We provide over 20 visualizations, around alarm metrics and case metrics, as well as some dashboards, which are pretty cool. They're assemblages of the visualizations, that look pretty cool on a big screen. So the queries that we include out of the box are alarm metrics, case and incident metrics, log volume by deployment, entity, data processor, and host, and then log volume by log source type and log source. So 4 queries. Each query writes to its own index. We'll see that in a little bit, and pretty straightforward. As I mentioned before, the existing queries can be edited, in situ, right on the box using a text editor. New queries can be created as well. So we provide 4 out of the box. Maybe you have a 5th one that you've thought of. It's pretty easy to take one of those existing queries and copy it and then kind of clone it a little bit to kind of get it to do what you want to do, and then write to a new index and have that data available.
Is this something we're going to see interaction with the community on?
That'd be great. As I mentioned before, there's we provide some samples, to kind of get the juices flowing, and we'd like to see some feedback from you guys on hey, here's a cool visualization based on the metrics index, the alarm index, or here's a cool dashboard that we created based on the log volume data. So yeah, we definitely want to see that happen. The first couple iterations of this project, customers have gotten advanced copies, and we're very helpful. They pointed out some optimizations in the queries that we were doing, and they kind of fed those back to us that we incorporated. But we'd like to get to the point where there'd be a metrics app dashboard section where you can go and just download Kibana dashboards from like log volume, case metrics, things like that. So yeah, we definitely are interested in seeing what customers come up with. The Logstash queries can be run on demand as I need them to be, or on a scheduled basis. So ideally, you kind of set this thing up. You run the queries once to get the initial load of data, and then as cron jobs, the Logstash queries will run every night to kind of do the delta and get the previous day's data replicated over into Elastic. As I mentioned before, each query writes its own data, writes its data into its own index in Elastic. So you've got the alarms database, we write that into the alarms index. Case database gets written to the case index. Keep it straight, pretty clear on where the data is coming from originally. So availability, as I mentioned, this is available now on the LogRhythm community. It's under shareables, apps. This is a hot link. You'll get these slides from the community as well, and you can click on the link. So, or you can just go search for the Metrics app on the site. It comes with an installer and a user guide, and this pretty much walks you through how to create your CentOS VM, and then how to run the install script, and it talks about what's laying down on the box. And then it also at the end has a data dictionary, which provides you a detailed, column by column data type a view of what's actually coming across and being inserted into those indexes, so you can look at it and start getting thinking about some of the things you might want to do visually or report-wise. Any questions before we jump into a demonstration?
What are the network firewall port requirements?
So
Data encrypted between.
yeah, so we're using a secure JVC connection from the VM to SQL Server, and you need to open up port 1433 on the platform manager, the SQL Server. It should already be open, or your system's not going to be running very well. So that guy should already be open, and it has secure secure JVC connection.
I think you also created a custom service account or something for that.
Exactly. We have a SQL script to create a least privileged user, SQL Server user. That's kind of read only for all the data that you want to access. So you can use that in your Logstash credentials. So that user is very limited on what it can see. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
In terms of hardware requirements, VM requirements, that on the install deck?
It's on the install guide. It's very minimal. I think it's like 250 gig disk, and it's pretty small. The amount of disk really comes down to how much data, how long you want to keep data for.
Yeah.
Is really what it is.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick look at Kibana. So Kibana is kind of the top of the ELK stack. This is kind of the visualization presentation part of the whole ELK stack. Has anybody used Kibana before? Are you familiar with Kibana? You've probably heard of it. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty intimidating when you first look at it, but I'll show you in a second how easy it is to use. And when we were kind of developing this project, we were trying to provide you with these out-of-the-box visualizations. And for myself, trying to create my first visualization, I was a little intimidated. It took a little while, but it's like one of those things where once you do your first one, you're kind of off to the races. First one's the hardest, and then you just blow them out after that really quickly. All of a sudden you got 10, 20, 30 different charts that are all pretty cool that you made pretty quickly. So this screen here is kind of like the top level view when you kind of come into Kibana, and it kind of gives you an overview of what you've got in your Elasticsearch. And what we're seeing here is we've got four indexes that as we talked about, one for alarms, cases, and then the log volume by data source and log volume by deployment. Each one of these indexes has the data that it implies. And what we're looking at here is kind of a row by row view of the case database. And if we kind of blow this out, you kind of see the fields that are in each row in this particular index, and you see all the stuff you'd expect to see. The case ID, case number, case status, date closed, date created, date became an incident, data was mitigated, data was resolved, who did it, all this stuff. All in one nice little package in one table, one index. In SQL Server, all this data is kind of split, relationally, across several tables and disjointed. So the part of the ETL process is to pull this over and fully constitute it, so that when you're looking at it in Elastic and through these tools, all the data for that particular case or for that particular alarm is already in here. So you don't need to go do any lookups or any joins with any other data. It should all be ready to go. So again, this kind of gives you just a quick raw view of the data that's in Elastic, at a high level. Not too exciting. Where it does start to get exciting is though when we start looking at visualizations. So as I mentioned before, we provide about 25 out-of-the-box visualizations based on those four indexes. So we've got things like alarm count by analyst, alarm count by name by hour, alarm metrics by alarm rule, alarm metrics by alarm rule group. Pretty much all these permutations going on in here. I'm going to take a moment to quickly show you how easy it is to create a new visualization. Let's say I want to create a pie chart showing me all my alarms, break it down by analyst, and then break it down by alarm status. So I can come in here, I can click New Visualization, I want to do a pie chart, I want to choose the alarms index as my data source, and then bam, there's all my alarm data. 961 alarms. That's great, not too powerful. I want to look at it by analyst. So I come down and I say, aggregate by one of my fields. I say, okay, choose analyst, go. And now I can see my alarms broken down by analyst. I can see James has 93 alarms, Derek has 101, etc. I can also see pretty quickly that I have 417 unassigned alarms, which as a SOC manager I might be a little concerned about. I like to see these, have an owner. That's pretty cool. Let's take it a step further. Let's look at, break it down by analyst by status. It's pretty simple to do so. I can just go and add a new aggregation. And I want to add this aggregation off another field that's in that index. And this field is alarm status. So here we go, alarm status. To go, and bam. Now I've got another ring, and the inner ring is still showing me, broken down by analyst. But now for, let's say, Derek, I can go and look at, how many alarms is he working? 29. And how many is he closed resolved? 26. And how many are escalated currently? 24. And so on. So I can, pretty quickly and easily, build some, pretty cool and useful presentations. And I can save that off and put it in my library of visualizations that I can use, kind of standalone by themselves. Or I can build dashboards. So these are, let me just clear this out. The dashboard is an aggregation of visualizations in Kibana. These kind of work a little bit like our web console dashboards in that these widgets are kind of customizable. I can resize these things. I can kind of move them around. Different places on the page. I can add visualizations and searches, so I can simply click add and go to my visualization library and choose another one to add onto that dashboard. I can also just have raw queries show up on the dashboard as well. So, for example, if I just wanted to see, just a plain old, grid of alarm data, I can, create a view to do that. So if I just want to look at the raw data for these alarms, I can put that on the page as well. But this is a pretty quick and easy way to for my analysts, for my customers, build views of that data set that are just not possible to do today with the existing reporting functionality. There's a reporting package called XPack that comes with the Elk Stack 2 that you can put on this. And it's very easy to use, and once you've installed it, it just has another button up here that just has a report button where it does an excellent job of taking what you see on screen and just rendering it as a PDF.
What is it called?
XPack.
XPack.
X-pack. And that's free as well from Elastic. And that just puts a nice PDF export to PDF functionality on top of this, so you can share these dashboards around. These dashboards, back to your original community shareability question, these dashboards can be exported as standalone files and then re-imported into another instance. So we can put these on community and share them around with different users. So
sorry, what's the data that's on here? So it's alarms.
This is alarms. Yeah, this is the alarm data dashboard. We also have 3 others. We have case metrics, incident metrics. We also have log volume. This one's pretty cool. This shows all the log volume across your deployment. So process, index, events forwarded, data collected. I can break this down by data processor by hour. I can break it down by data indexer. I can do it by entity. I can do it across log source types. Pretty much slice and dice it in a bunch of different ways. And this stuff, as you saw, creating that visualization was so easy. I mean, you can experiment, throw it away if you don't like it. Create something else. Use what you learned on the previous one to build an even better one. It's pretty cool stuff. I got to say. So, yeah, this is just a quick introduction to what's possible. I encourage you to download the Metrics app and you can get it up and going in your environments, particularly if you're not satisfied with your current reporting capabilities.
Do Do you think you have all the data that you're planning on putting into this available into, or are you going to be pulling other data points from your SQL database to?
Good point. We have 4 queries right now, which we've heard from you guys, you know, the 4 most important ones, but there's a lot more. There's a lot of EMTB database where you can like look at host data and network data and individual like IP address kind of stuff. All that stuff is in the EMTB. You know, looking at your log stash queries for like, you know, alarms. You know, a savvy LogRhythm user could, you know, write their own queries to pull additional data out of SQL Server into Elastic based on your needs. So we came up with what we thought was most valuable for the first cut. You know, this product does have roadmap. You know, we do plan on adding to this down the road, adding more data sets in there as we hear back from you guys, and you know what your feedback is. So yeah, we're going to evolve this.
And you're intending to transition this as you guys move versions and move off of SQL and all that kind of jazz.
Correct. Yeah, this is kind of a bridge, right, to kind of get you there now versus, you know, waiting until that day comes when we get off SQL Server. So this could, even after the fact, this will probably stick around just because, you know, this is pretty quick and easy way to do some pretty powerful things with data sets.
Okay.
This is supported for LogRhythm 7.2 and up. So if you got 7.2 or higher, you know, get the metrics app, you know, start doing some replication, start playing with it. Let us know what you think. Any other questions?
Requirements that we have to be able to.
No, they should all be in the user guide. It's really just, you know, the VM requirements and then the access to the platform manager databases. Really all is required.
Has it been Dockerized?
No. That's good. You want to write that down. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for coming.